that I can't escape just because it's so fascinating to me, and I don't know how it fits in life, but this is just fascinating to me. Many presidents and their children have encounters with death. And you know, many presidents, one of the greatest experiences psychologists tell us in life, even a psychological necessity of life, is recognition of peers. And being elected president has got to be a big one. And psychologists also tell us that one of the most stressful events that we can experience as humans is the death of a child. What stunned me is how frequently a presidential career was triggered by the death of a child. We're talking Lincoln, we're talking Jackson. We're talking about people who don't want to come home to their wife. So instead of divorce, which often occurs when there's a death of a child in our society, in early America, where divorce was not a social option, their way out is public life, where they can be alone. So Lincoln, who didn't want to go home to his wife after the death of Eddie, hit the road and campaigned for Congress, and it was his escape. In fact, once he says in one of his speeches, if the good people of Illinois decide not to send me, he said, I've experienced a lot worse. And he shows this attitude that overcoming fear and his ability to run for office. So anyway, that was a fascination to me. I'll end with this thought. All of us, every one of us, as children, seek the approval of our father or the father figure in our life through mimicry and completion. Mimicry is when you root for the Yankees because your dad was for the Yankees. Completion is when you get a college education and you're the first one in your family to get a college education. I found in this study that presidential children, firstborn particularly, women and men, tended towards completion because they could not mimic the presidency. So William Henry Harrison's son became a doctor when he learned that his father had wanted to be a doctor. John F. Kennedy Jr. became a publisher when he learned from his father's friends that his dad had always wanted to be a publisher. T.R. Jr. won the Medal of Honor when he learned that his father's greatest disappointment in life was failing to win the Medal of Honor. Margaret Wilson, whose father constantly complained that he didn't have time to think. He'd only been in government 2 years before he was president, had no time to think, had to make all these decisions. Margaret Wilson joined an ashram in India, never married, and spent her whole life in meditation. Which brings us to George W. Bush. George W. Bush's father was accused of not really being a Texan, of keeping a hotel in Bayshore Inn in Houston, Texas, and really living in Kennebunkport, but the son is proven that Bushes are Texans. And the father's greatest disappointment, the family's greatest disappointment, was a perceived lack of integrity over read my lips, no new taxes, and then lowering the taxes. George W. is going to lower the taxes, whether you want it or not, and lower the taxes and lower the taxes, and he's wiping off the pages of history, read my lips, no new taxes. Will make it very clear that the name Bush means low taxes. And finally, there's Saddam Hussein. And it was left undone. And as many other presidential sons before him, as you and I, we please the father image in our life through mimicry and completion. And I wouldn't be surprised if completion occurs. Thank you very much.